like I had always seen tattoos on like the old guys at church as a kid, you know, like people that had been in the Navy or whatever. And in the beginning, like I thought that was like all tattoos were like blue and green and stuff. But then like in my teenage years, I started seeing like the tattoo shows on TV and stuff, like Miami Ink and all that, and saw like Ami James tattooing koi fish and, you know, Chris Garver doing dragons and all this stuff, and was just like really enthralled with it, you know, just at the whole like art style and the, you know, potentials of tattooing as a artistic medium and everything. So I just started like looking at that stuff all the time, and just that was what I would do in like all my free time, just like draw tattoos and stuff. So I did that, you know, kind of all through middle school and high school, and then started getting tattooed at 16. You know, you can get tattooed with parental consent in Ohio. So
okay.
yeah, I talked him into it. You know, I actually had a deal with my dad that if I designed his tattoo, then he would take me to go get one. So
when you were a kid, what did you like to draw? Do you remember like what you first draw?
Well, probably like in the very beginning was probably like dinosaurs, you know, like I love dinosaurs when I was a kid. But yeah, you know, I was fortunate to get my apprenticeship when I was just 17, you know, and still in high school. I think like what I tattoo now has kind of changed a lot. Kind of more like custom stuff, I guess, like people getting like larger projects. I like a good balance of it, you know, like it's fun to do those smaller pieces, but then, you know, it's also good to have some of those more like long-term projects going that
it's like art. You're creating art.
Yeah, and I like stuff that kind of like has an impact as a whole, you know, and that's like how it was used like in these tribal cultures, or, you know, in cultures throughout time. Like tattooing was like a very specific kind of like rite of passage, you know, where like at certain stages in life you would get like this certain tattoo. Maybe it like marked your transition into manhood, or your like transition into being like a mother or a warrior or whatever it was. But there would be designs that would be kind of like passed down, and you know, the shape, you know, the frequency of the design with the placement on the body, combined with a very like, you know, intentional like ritual kind of like application process, you know, like in the context of the community, with everybody kind of like putting their energy into that, you know, it made it this like very like transformative thing where this like this tattoo, it really like meant something. And you know like now that you have that, like you've kind of like leveled up in a way, you know. So I think it's like really cool to look at tattooing in that way, and I try to like kind of convey that to people, and just, you know, get them to think about that in their own way, because obviously like we have, you know, tattooing now has gotten so huge, and it's kind of like, you know, anything and everything is happening, you know, from like very like, you know, things like that, you know, people kind of like reviving those like tribal forms of tattooing and getting back to those roots and like applying those principles to what they're doing, to just like, you know, any different kind of like art style. You know, it's just like all over the place. It's like a huge spectrum, you know. So I think just to whatever level people are kind of like willing, I try to get them to think about that, and just try to like meet them where they are, and say like, you know, whatever the tattoo is, whether it's a bodysuit or whether it's just like a little logo, like how am I going to be making like a contribution to this person's life that's going to actually be like benefiting them for life, you know. But specifically, you know, I like to focus on like black work and ornamental styles of tattooing, tribal, you know, any kind of like abstract. A lot of like the smaller like walk-in kind of tattoos and stuff. It's gone a lot more towards like the minimalism, like black work, fine line kind of stuff.